Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to do an update on my compost sorter that I built here. So I made an upgrade to it from a comment that somebody made to maybe buy a vibration motor to run it. So as you remember, I ran it with my Sawzall or reciprocating saw, and I had this strapped down, and I would slowly try to press this trigger in and try to get it to the right speed. This was kind of a pain. It was really hard to control, and then it wants to just go full speed or not at all, and so this was really a hard solution to use. I was never really all that pleased with it, but it did work for the most part. Now, I did try to do another upgrade here. Let me just grab this off the floor and this over here. I tried to anchor a wheel that would rotate like this, and I tried to do that as well, and that would be using my drill hooked on the end here. I had some bolts on this side. I hooked the drill on and used that. That didn't work very well either. This actually never really worked. I couldn't seem to get it working. By the way, if you see a flash over my shoulder, that's just the time-lapse videos. You know, if you go check those out, there's some pretty good ones. I've got a new one going right now, and we'll see what comes out at the end. But as I was saying, though, this never really worked out either. And that's where I switched to trying this, which is on here right now, vibration motor. And let's just get a close-up look on how this is installed, and we're going to try this out right now. So let's go take a quick look here. All right, I don't know if the lighting's great, but here's the vibration motor. I have it mounted here just above where the Sawzall was before. This is on a regular standard 2x4 piece of wood. I have bolts coming up through the bottom here. I don't know if I can show you them or not. I can't get my hand underneath here. Hold on, let me just see if I can swing this around underneath here to give you a good look. So there you go. You can see the bolts now underneath. They're attached there. They come up through. They go on top. By the way, these are M8 bolts for this unit. That's what I needed. I had to buy them. I did not have them on hand, and I think I'd 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch, and neither one of them would fit through these slots. So I had to buy these specifically for this and drill up through here. From here, as you can see, I'm just kind of going around the unit here. So from here, though, I have this cable that runs down. I ran it along the wood, on the backside of the wood, so it would not get caught up in here. And it comes to this little box here that came with the unit. But then this thing right here, let me unplug this real quick. It did not have, it just had the wires. So I don't know if you can see this here. There's wires coming out the back. I did not do the best job. I will probably redo this once I try this out. I have not tested it yet, and make this a little bit more secure. But I had to buy this unit right here, the 3 prongs for my area. I think these are made in China, the vibration unit, and they just come with the 3 wires so you can hook it up as needed. With that, I also bought this variable speed. Now, I have to admit, I don't know if this works. I did turn this on, and I found that I just had to turn it up all the way, and then it was either on or off, it felt like. But for right now, I'm just going to keep this just in case. It's kind of nice to have an on-off switch so I don't have to keep plugging it in and out. So this allows me to say variable or full and then off in the center. So, you know, that's just sort of handy to have on this unit. So for right now, I'm just going to keep it. And then from there, of course, this just plugs into my outlet splitter here that I've got, which also goes to my lights as well. So that's what I've got hooked up right here. I think this is a pretty decent setup, but let's try it out and see how well this works. So just so you can see right now, I've got underneath here, I've got the container to catch all the castings. I've got some bags of rock under here because I don't know if this is going to try to move along the floor. And then on the back side here, I've got one of my mortar trays. So with that, let's put the camera back up on the stand and let's get going and try this out and see how well it works. All right, before we get started here, just so you can see, these are some nice castings that we've got here. Let me just point the light a little bit more at them. These are some nice light castings that we have. They're not very compacted, but you can see there's plenty of worms in there too, I think. But there's lots of worms in here, lots of castings. This looks like it's really, really ready to be sorted. It was starting to dry out a little bit in the corners, but this is ready to be sorted, and that's why we're going to do this one first. This one is completely, I think, worked through by the worms. So with that, let's go and start the sorting process and try this out and see how well it works. All right, so I'm going to turn this on here. As I said, it seems to do nothing on the lower settings. I have to turn it up all the way. There we go. We can turn it down a little bit. I've sorted well over half the system, and that was on a lower setting. We're going to try amping this up a little bit. One thing I am noticing, and I'll zoom in later, is that I'm noticing a lot of the worms are getting stuck in this upper tray, which is 1/8 inch, and that was never happening in the past when I had the shaking motion like this. When I had that instead of the shaking motion, I had the actual movement like this. I didn't see worms getting stuck in here. So I'm going to try upping the vibration and see if that helps to kind of clear them out and help them go down the chute instead of getting trapped. So I'm going to turn this back on, and we're going to turn it up all the way. All right, my initial thoughts are this worked pretty well. I do need it up a little bit higher than what I had it, but it's going to be hard to figure out that modulation to where it should be. Up too high, and the problem is stuff, well, first off, it gets down the chute and it kind of gets stuck. But also, it's also shooting some stuff out all over my floor, and it's over here in this corner as well, as it's just really, really violently shaking things, and I don't have it quite set up for that. So I'd probably need, if I wanted to do it more, I'd probably need higher sides to keep the material in if I wanted to have it up that high. And then I'd also have to really make sure that all this material in here is really, really anchored down well. So like right here, you can tell that this is loose, and there was actually stuff coming up out of here and onto the floor. So let me show you, let me give you a close-up here view of the material, or the worms that are on top here, because this is one of the things that I am a little bit worried about with them getting stuck a little bit more easily on this upper section. So I'm going to come around over here so that way hopefully the light's still shining on. But you can see on here, as you can find one, there we go. There's a worm right there that's stuck. There's a worm right there. Another one. Here we go. Some more over here in the center section. So there's a lot of worms stuck up here. I'm used to seeing it down here in this section. If you can see, there's quite a few worms that are stuck down here. This is very normal because unfortunately with these larger holes, they just fall into them a lot more easily. Up here though, I'm just not used to seeing this many. Normally it's just like, maybe 3 or 4, not 15 to 20, which is what it looks like. And I pull these out individually with my hands to make sure that, they can get off. When the vibration was up really high, also it was, I think these metal pieces right here, let me zoom out a little bit. These metal pieces right here were banging apart a little bit more too. So stuff was getting caught right here. It wasn't kind of falling this way. So I'm wondering if I might have some larger chunks in my system. And then when we get to the end here, this is what I was saying about some stuff being ejected onto the floor. This floor was clean before we started this process. So there's some over there, and there's a little bit on that side over there. So some of these things were being ejected all the way onto the floor. Now, let me pull out the castings and see how they look from the inside here. Now, I only have lights pointed from one direction because that's all the lights that I've got. But let me just put this back up on the tripod. Let's take out those castings and see how they look. All right, here we go. First thing first, let's shake this out. Looks like there's some castings that are stuck in here. I don't want them getting all over my floor if possible. I want to keep them in the system. These castings, though, they look really, really good. I mean, there are some worms in there definitely, but this looks really well sorted. I mean, that just looks like beautiful castings to me. There definitely are some worms in there. They're definitely getting through. I probably, if I were to build this again, would probably have the 1/8 inch go all the way through, and I would just forget completely about the 1/4 inch, unless I really just like wanted the rough stuff. But this looks just wonderful. There are definitely worms in here, though. I'm not sorting them all out. If you want to get every single worm you can, you're going to have to use a smaller granular mesh, or you're going to have to bait most of your worms out to begin with. I don't tend to do that, but so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put this back underneath. And the reason why I do that, I always leave this underneath for one night because there's some worms that have definitely fallen under the plastic here. They're going to go their way down to try to get away from stuff, and they're going to fall into that container in the bottom. And that's why I do it like that. I always try to leave it under there, so that way they have some room to get it somewhere safe, and that way I can keep them alive, and then I'll put this the next day into my storage tote that I have. So that was the first harvest from on this system. It worked pretty well. I don't know, maybe the shaking system is better, maybe it's not. I think though with all the worms that are stuck, it kind of worries me a little bit, but I'm not too worried about getting every single worm. It's just the fact that I do have to clean this off because I don't like to leave worms on there and let them dry out. That's not fair to them. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to keep trying it a couple more times, but first harvest looks like it went pretty well. If you have any questions though, please drop a comment down below. I'm still trying to fine-tune this. As you can see, I'm probably going to have to staple this in or anchor this in some way so that way this will stay up and not fall open like this. That way it doesn't shake right out of there. But other than that, this is looking pretty good. So thank you for watching. And again, if you have any questions, leave a comment down below.